It wasn't the spin. It wasn't even the lap time deletion. The moment that truly hit hardest for Lewis Hamilton at Spa wasn't physical at all. It was psychological. Track limits at turn 4. "We are out." That's what came across the radio from Riccardo Adami, Hamilton's new race engineer at Ferrari. Flat, blunt, robotic. And in that clinical confirmation, what should have been a moment for quiet support or shared frustration felt more like a transaction. This wasn't Bono, and this wasn't Mercedes. And suddenly, in that silence that followed, every fan watching could feel it. This wasn't home. Hamilton had already spun in the sprint shootout, a rare but raw mistake that left him 18th. Then came Q1 proper, where despite putting in a lap time that should have been enough to escape elimination, it was ruled invalid. Track limits. Turn 4 gone. P16. And just like that, the 7-time world champion, in a car that should have made Q3 on merit, found himself eliminated in the opening session for the 2nd time in a single weekend. Unheard of. And what followed was even more revealing. Not just his own apology, really sorry to the team, but a quiet realization that something deeper was fraying beneath the surface. Was this just a bad weekend? Or did we just witness the first visible crack in the Hamilton-Ferrari experiment? Because from the outside, it looked like a world-class driver desperate for reassurance and a team still figuring out how to give it. On paper, Lewis Hamilton's elimination in Q1 at Spa looks like a simple story. Track limits at turn 4, lap time deleted, and that's it. But under the surface, the data tells a much more layered truth. One that reveals the razor-thin margin Ferrari are working with and the unnerving discomfort Hamilton still has with the SF25 setup window. Let's start with the basics. Spa-Francorchamps is a high-speed, flow-based circuit that rewards aerodynamic confidence and rear stability. And this is where Hamilton's problems began. From FP1, the rear-end behavior of the car under medium load corners, especially through the turn 2 to 4 complex, was unstable on throttle application. Ferrari had opted for a slightly trimmed-out rear wing to compensate for straight-line deficit compared to Red Bull and McLaren. But that came at a cost: lateral grip under mid-corner rotation. In Hamilton's deleted lap, the telemetry shows his entry speed into turn 4 was actually 2 kilometers per hour faster than Charles's. He was pushing, no doubt, but with lower downforce and a less planted rear, that extra speed created a shallow trajectory, pushing him marginally over the white line on exit, just enough to violate track limits. If Spa exposed anything, it wasn't just Ferrari's fragility under pressure. It was the urgency of alignment. Because with Monza looming and McLaren gaining ground, Ferrari has little time left to recalibrate. For Lewis Hamilton, that means more than just dialing in front wing angles or rear ride height. It means rebuilding psychological stability within the team, starting with the man on the other end of the radio. Riccardo Adami isn't going anywhere. He's a Ferrari institution, formerly Vettel's engineer, deeply embedded in Maranello's hierarchy. But his communication style, precise and no-nonsense, is tailored for engineers, not always drivers who feed off rhythm and reassurance. For Ferrari, the task now isn't to change Adami, but to soften the interface, to bridge the emotional gap that has quietly widened between Hamilton and the voice guiding him through battle. Then there's the technical equation. Ferrari's 2025 car thrives when the rear end is planted and when the setup is tailored aggressively toward Leclerc's driving style. But to keep Hamilton competitive, especially at high-speed circuits like Monza, the team may need to compromise, potentially building in more mid-corner stability, even at the cost of a few top speed delta gains. It's a delicate balance between raw pace and driver confidence. Because if Monza becomes another Spa, another misfire, another miscommunication, then Ferrari won't just be risking points, they'll be risking the trajectory of the entire Hamilton project. And in a season this tight, one more wrong weekend could trigger ripple effects that no simulator could predict. Years from now, no one will remember the sector times from Spa 2025. They won't quote the delta at turn 4 or the precise margin by which Hamilton missed Q2. But they might remember the silence. Because what unfolded on that outlap wasn't just a failure to qualify. It was a moment that quietly captured the deeper complexity of Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari chapter. The moment when a driver who built a legacy on synergy and trust suddenly found himself out of sync, with no Bono to steady the nerves and no warmth to soften the blow. If this partnership is going to succeed, truly succeed, it must evolve from more than just mutual respect. It needs emotional fluency. Ferrari can build speed, that's never been in doubt. But building trust, adapting to the rhythm of a new driver, and crafting a race day environment that allows for vulnerability as well as performance, that's the real challenge. And for Hamilton, who has spent a decade being heard, not just managed, the success of this project will depend on whether Ferrari can meet him there. This wasn't a terminal moment. Not yet. The points are recoverable. The pace exists. And Hamilton remains one of the most technically gifted drivers on the grid. But Spa will linger, not as a disaster, but as a reminder. A signal that in Formula One, talent alone isn't enough. Not at this level. Not at this stage. And especially not in red. Because legacy isn't just what you win. It's how you get through weekends like this.